Well, welcome back to my shop again. I'm going to do another little video on my basic series. I did one on doing segments, and I did one on half ring glue ups. Now I'm going to do one on a single glue up on a ring, one time glue up. That is my preferred method. Now, the advantages of using a half ring glue up, this was done with a half ring glue up in the video. You're guaranteed, almost guaranteed tight joints if you do it right. There's no reason you shouldn't have tight joints. The disadvantage is if you ain't careful, you can get an oval instead of a round ring. The advantages of single glue up, is you always get a round ring. The disadvantages is they've got to fit when you glue them up. You dry clamp them to check their fit. And if they don't fit, they've got to be adjusted before you glue them up. Okay, these are dry clamped. Now, no matter how you cut them, and no matter if you sand them or if you don't sand them, that's up to you. If you try and use something like this to set the angles to cut them, of course this is impossible. There's a very small difference between 5 degrees. So how much difference is there going to be between 1 degree? So something like this is impossible. Now, my sled, I've got a video just on making my sled. On my sled, the distance between the pivot point where I read the angles is 22 inches. So that 5 degrees is actually 2 inches apart. So I can distinguish half a degree, 1 degree, half a degree very easily. 1 degree is about almost half an inch. Just about half an inch. And I only mark the angles I use, and I use a digital angle gauge to set them, so I have really precise angles on mine. There's no problem cutting segments. I use that because I cut 20 different angles, 20 different segments. Open segment, closed segments, 16, 20, 24, 32, 48, open, closed. So, I also sand mine, and I use a disc sander. I got a sled and a push stick. This is for 16 segments. I got tape on it to adjust the angle a little bit to get it just right. So this is actually set right on, perfect. Of course, segments don't always come out perfect, no matter what you do. So, you dry clamp them. Just like this. You don't use band clamps anymore, that's ancient history. You use a string clamp like this. Actually a cord, 40-pound cord. If there's a gap on the edge, that means you need more angle on one of them. You just got to adjust one of them. If there's a gap on the inside, that means you get less angle. So you got to put less angle on one. If I got a gap, I pull one out, put it on here, and I'll put a shim behind the push stick. Put a shim on top, get more angle. Put a shim on the bottom, get less angle. So I can adjust one segment. If it's really bad, I have to adjust 2 segments. But I've got mine calibrated so close, I never get that problem. So, that is the basic problem with gluing them up. Single glue up. But I still prefer that method. Of course, like I said, mine's accurate and calibrated, so I don't really have a problem. And it really don't make no difference whether you sand them or you just cut them or whatever. So, once you get them tight with no gaps whatsoever, you can look at the light behind them. You can see if there's a gap anywhere. Then I put glue on each one and glue them up. I'll do that in a minute. Now, if it's just a normal ring, I don't care how flat it is. I mean, it's got to be flat, but not perfectly flat. If it's a pattern ring, a feature ring that I want really flat, I will glue the piece over the top. Where's my little one? I'll glue a piece over the top. Okay. Like I said, if it's a feature ring or any other ring I want to keep perfectly flat, I'll glue a clamp over the top and clamp it down. I got these squares cut, MDF. I got different size bolts for different height rings. On my table I've got a hole with a T-nut in the bottom, so I can just put them in and clamp them down. And that holds them flat, if need be. I don't always use it because I don't always need them all to be perfectly flat. Like this one, I'm just going to glue it and keep it fairly flat. Yeah, I'll have to sand it and get it completely flat after I glue it. So, once I get them all tight, then I got to glue them either with tight bound 2 or with quick and thick. Quick and thick dries clear. Basically, it's got the same properties as tight bound 2 otherwise. In this case, I'm going to use quick and thick to glue it. Okay, what I'm going to do is just put a little glue on each segment. I pulled one out, and I'll just work my way around. A little bit of glue on each segment as I work around. I should have made a bigger ring. Little rings are hard to work with. But that's okay. Work my way around. I'm making this ring of all different woods in a segment. And took the segments I glued up for the gluing demonstration, glued them into rings. I'm going to take this ring, and I will make a turning out of them just for grins. I mean, I got them, so why not use them, right? I don't know what kind of turning it'll make, but whatever, who cares? Getting glue all over my hands. That's okay. If I had bigger segments, that wouldn't happen. Now the last segment, the one that I pulled out, put it back in. Clean up my hand. Clean up the glue bottle. Put the cap back on so I don't forget. Okay, let's put the clamp on it. Make sure the string's right at the center in height. Tighten her down. Right, see one of these is popping up. That's because the glue is slippery. Now I'm just going to feed them all back down. If I really wanted this flat, like I said, I'd put the piece over the top and clamp it down, but I'm not really that concerned about this ring. It's not a pattern ring. Now, all I got to do is let it dry for 15 minutes, and then I can go ahead and flatten it. It's been 15 minutes now. Take the clamp off. All I got to do now is flatten the ring. Now, I only flatten rings on one side. There's a good reason for that, but I'll talk about that later. Now, there's many ways to flatten a ring. I'll do that in the next video. So I've got a ring, half ring glue up. I got a ring, single glue up. The important thing to remember is they have to fit tight when you glue them up. That's the only thing you got to remember. If they're not, you got to adjust them. If you can't adjust them, then use the half ring glue up. If they have to be tight, when you clamp them, put a board with a weight on them, or do like I do. I got these pieces made that I can just clamp them down with. Just so that when I clamp them with a string clamp, I can also clamp them down, keep them flat, because the glue in them makes them slide a little bit, and they will try and pop up, but that'll keep them flat. And of course, I've got all different size pieces for different size rings. I got them all the way up to 20 inch, which is the biggest my lathe can use. No need getting bigger than that. So, that's really about it for this video. It's simple enough to do. Make them fit, dry clamp them, make sure they fit. Once they fit, put glue on all of them, put the clamp on, clamp them up, and let them sit for 15 minutes. Whether you use tight bound quick or thick, or tight bound 2, still 15 minutes. So next video, I'm going to show ways to flatten them. There's more than one way to do that. And thank you for watching this video, and come back and watch my next one.